About Schmidt, the third feature film from the great American film director Alexander Payne, is a satirical comedy. At least that's the way I watch it, and that's confirmed by actor Jack Nicholson.
Well, I'm so surprised because, I don't know whether to be happy or ashamed because I thought we made a comedy.
As with so many Payne movies, he's casting a great actor against type, and Jack Nicholson is perfect as an Omaha schlub, a newly retired life insurance or insurance salesman who is now moving into his retired life. He's got a wife of 42 years, and they just have had kind of a humdrum marriage. He's had a humdrum life. He doesn't know what to do with himself in retirement. And so here we have the question of what is the American dream? Where are you going with your life? What is a good life? And Schmidt is the target of this movie as far as I think the artwork and the filmmaking goes, so that the audience can think about for themselves, why are you doing what you're doing? Why are you living this life today? What are you going for in the future? That's because Schmidt really doesn't have a retirement or plan for retirement for his life. What was the purpose of his life? It was to work at Woodman, weird name for an insurance company, and he wants, even when he's in retirement, he tries to go back into the office to give them advice. He doesn't know what to do with himself. His wife has sort of helped him buy a Winnebago, but they're not going anywhere in it, and so he has no clue what his life is about, realizing, and we realize as the audience, it's really been true for his entire life. And because of that, this is a very sad movie, in my opinion. Not sad, but it's hilarious, because Payne is a master, in my opinion, of great satirical jokes, and especially visual jokes. This movie relies not so much on script and word choice as it does on juxtaposition of shots. To, for example, make fun of Warren Schmidt, to make fun of a number of things. For example, there's association made via cuts where Schmidt is compared to cows and trucks, and he looks over at the cows and the trucks, and we kind of get a sense that that's what he feels like, or that's what his life has been like. He's just a herded animal being led to the slaughter or something like that. Now, a bit of mild spoilers, although I'm talking just about the end of the first act of the movie, 30 minutes into the movie. As Schmidt is in his retired life, he comes home and his wife is dead, his wife of 42 years. So what's a man to do? And in one sense, he turns into a total slob, but of course we know he's grieving, and yet we know we're supposed to kind of laugh at him because he has no clue what life is about. Even at one point, his wife has constrained him to sitting on the toilet seat to urinate, and at one point he goes into the bathroom and decides, hey, I'm going to urinate all over the floor. He turns into a total slob. But one of the keys to the movie, and comes up in the very ending too, is that he gets interested in doing one of these charitable things where he pays $22 a month to a giant international charity to sponsor a third world child. This becomes a driving force in the movie, where there's a voiceover narrator, Schmidt, played by Nicholson, who is writing letters to Nadugu, his sponsored 6-year-old child in Tanzania. It's a great voiceover. I absolutely love this idea because it's basically letters to Nadugu.
I am 66 years old and recently retired as assistant vice president and actuary at Woodman of the World Insurance Company. And God damn it if they didn't replace me with some kid.
And you know that the voiceover, Schmidt, is not telling the complete truth in Nadugu, but he's also confessing to him. These are kind of weird confessional letters. It makes zero sense how a 70, 60-year-old guy from Omaha is going to relate to a 6-year-old Tanzanian boy, but that's what Schmidt is up to.
I'll close now and get this in the mail. Here I am, rambling on, and you probably want to hurry on down and cash that check and get yourself something to eat.
Through these letters, we get some kind of taste of his inner desires, and nevertheless, as he's meeting people, talking to them, talking to his daughter, who's going to be married to a guy that Schmidt really doesn't like, that there's a BS veneer here. There's a Midwestern nice veneer over a lot of the interaction, and yet, we know that he's sad, he's angry, he's lonely, he's isolated, has no clue what his life is about, what was the point of life. He's got no answers to that. This movie, to me, Schmidt is begging to have a philosophy class or two, religion class or two, and to be really helped out think through what was the purpose of me being alive, and not to serve the insurance company or some kind of, warped American dream where you accumulate stuff and then you retire into nothingness. And that is, of course, what the movie's making fun of. I run into people all the time whose goal in life is to get a job, actually get a college degree, make a lot of money, retire with a big 401k, and what are they going to do at that point? Well, they might even die before then. They haven't thought about that, but when you're 65, 70, what's the point? What are you up to? Schmidt basically has nothing and nobody except for his Winnebago and his idle dreams and his letters to Nadugu, which I find to be ridiculously funny and sad and poignant at the same time. And to me, that's the tonal wonder of this movie, and if much of Payne's work from this point on in his career. He's on the razor edge of harsh satire, mockery, and sort of this sentimental humanism, where we can see Schmidt both as a fully complex human who is lacking in a lot of ways, but we could be understanding and empathetic towards him, but we also know we need to make fun of him, and a lot of things we do. I laugh at this movie all the way through, and Jack Nicholson is ideal in this performance. He's playing against type. This is completely different from some of his other roles, from the 70s, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and The Shining, and Joker, and some of his more famous roles. He's very subdued. He's perfect here. Even though he's lived in California a lot of his life, he understands that somehow an older Nebraskan type of man who's lived his life as a life insurance and kind of a boring marriage. The movie is screaming, what is a good life? What is the good life? Classic philosophical question. Where do you find it? I don't think Schmidt has any answers. And that is the satire that I think we are supposed to see, that we ourselves need to answer that question for ourselves, because look at Schmidt as an example. And Schmidt's default is to this sort of abstract charitable idea, this international charity service where he's sponsoring a child, and who knows whether how much of it's real or not. That's an interesting criticism or thought in this movie, because later on in Alexander Payne's work in Nebraska, you have an old man character who's duped by $1 million sweepstakes, believes in what he's getting through the mail, and I wonder here if that's what's also going on, where I'm not saying it's all false with Nadugu, but a lot is read into the Nadugu letters, especially at the end by Schmidt. And at the end, I feel like 50 emotions. I laugh at, I cry with the main character, and I think overall he just doesn't even have a clue about what living is or how to live, and I don't know what's failed him, but I think in general it's the American aesthetic throughout this movie, and Payne's totally realistic. Everything you can see here is real. I've seen a lot of this stuff in my life, the Kearney Arch, for example, all these bad restaurants, this bad interior design, the Winnebago aesthetic, everything else, the road systems. There's nothing that's beautiful or interesting in terms of aesthetically in this movie as far as the setting goes, and I think that's a deliberate choice because it's real in the American Midwest, as this movie spans Omaha to Denver. Also, all the people, or most of the people, including Schmidt himself, there's a lot of stuff on walls and sort of business speak. They speak in platitudes, and that's a substitute for good sound thinking, good sound philosophy, wisdom, and so on. And so I think that's what's lacking in Schmidt. Of course, my diagnosis. All in all, this is a actual life-giving movie to me. I recommend it for a number of people, young people, to see what not to become. It's not going to tell you explicitly what to become, and yet this is a good life example of, you could be going in this direction, working your 9 to 5 forever, not thinking about why you're getting married or who you're getting married to, all kinds of other questions like that. So for all those reasons, I still love this movie almost 21 years after the fact, and I say it's a great movie for all kinds of reasons, but Jack Nicholson, that's basically the reason, if nothing else, why this movie is great. He does such a good turn as Schmidt in this movie. What do you think of About Schmidt? Let us know in the comments, and please subscribe to this channel for more great content. Thank you. Have a great day.